Good morning to all of you. Welcome to the ICOC meeting at Stanford University. I'm Robert Klein, the chairman of the governing board. A number of my board members are sitting with you in the audience, and please feel free at the break to further educate them on the critical subject of the presentation this morning. Because if you look at our mission, the critical element is, of course, to reach clinical trials and then to move it from phase 1 trials through 2A or 2B on to the point that the therapy can be commercialized and reach as many patients as safely and appropriately as possible at a reasonable cost. The cost and the capital of reaching patients will be huge problems for us. And please, after this presentation and the break, I encourage the board members to talk to the members of Stem Cell Inc. who are here today about the challenges they face in the capital markets of moving something so important and meaningful to the overall mission of stem cell research to the clinic. It is also important to note that in addition to the distinguished speakers with Stem Cell Inc. and the clinical surgeons that are with us today, that Tony Ferrandino, a father of a patient, Drew, a very young man, is with us today. It is, in fact, the children who, in many cases, both raise the demands we make of ourselves and the hopes that we have for the future. Because it is the children who suffer without justification that raises our sense of dedication to a world with greater justice, with greater fairness in the options and outcomes of each life that we live. So this is a critical mission today. My vice chair, Dr. Ed Penhoet, will introduce the speakers. We will take this film and make sure we circulate it to the other board members. I'm afraid I drove the board a little late last night, but they will, I promise you, get a chance to see this film and the important clinical information and the important hope that it communicates for all of us. Dr. Penhoet.
Thank you, Bob, and thanks to all of you for coming this morning to hear a presentation about Batten disease. Batten's is one of more than 5,000 so-called orphan diseases recognized in the United States. And, you know, we all hear regularly about the big diseases in our society, about diabetes, about Alzheimer's, things that affect millions of people. We don't often hear about those afflicted with one of these orphan diseases, categorized by the U.S. government as afflicting less than 200,000 people in the U.S., but in many cases afflicting only a few thousand or even less people. It's a very broad category of diseases. They're called orphans because traditionally the pharmaceutical industry has not been incented to develop therapies for these diseases because they represent such small number of patients that the economic returns for developing these things have not been satisfactory, and therefore they've been sort of orphaned from a therapy and drug development point of view. Fortunately, the U.S. government in 1983 passed the Orphan Drug Act, which defined orphan diseases, directed the FDA to give accelerated review in many cases to therapies for these orphan diseases, allowed the FDA to provide 7 years of market exclusivity for anybody who developed a therapy for one of these diseases, which would incent them actually, at least if it's a relatively small market, that there would be an opportunity for them to enjoy the benefits of that commercialization for a period of 7 years. And also there are tax incentives now in our tax code for the clinical trials associated with orphan diseases. So a lot of progress has been made in this area, but you know, it's still a huge challenge for the whole community to address this sometimes bewildering complex of more than 5,000 different diseases in this category.